We can't afford to keep worthless employees like you. You're fired. After 3 years of hard work aiming to create a product that would be loved and used by many, I, Ted Cooper, managed to complete the prototype. But then the younger department head just casually tossed it out the window with a smirk. At that moment, something inside me snapped. Got it. With only that response, I packed my things. I entrusted everything to my reliable and excellent colleagues and left the company. Given my age, finding another job would be tough. As I pondered my next steps, I was invited by a drinking buddy to our usual bar. There, my friends listened to my story. I get it. I might be able to help. After understanding my situation, he made a proposal. The next day, while I was out dining with my family, my phone was bombarded with 100 frantic calls from the younger department head. I ignored them for a while, never imagining what would happen next. My name is Ted Cooper. At 45, I work for a company that manufactures furniture and appliances. I studied design in college and joined this company's product development department after graduation. I've been involved in many products over the years. There have been hardships, and it's not uncommon to face obstacles. However, my family has always supported me. My wife, who is 5 years younger, and my daughter in her second year of middle school. Their presence always energizes me. But lately, I've faced a challenging issue. Hey, old man, finish checking these documents by today. As he spoke, John Anderson, our 35-year-old department head, dumped a stack of documents on my desk. He took the position after the previous head retired. John, actually the CEO's son, is expected to eventually take over the company. He was assigned to lead the development department to prove his capabilities. Though expected to be a future leader, John has been a source of trouble. He just wants things to be easy and gets annoyed when they don't go as he wants. If you so much as voice a slight disagreement, he stops assigning you tasks, gradually pushing you out. He's extra harsh and disrespectful, especially when it comes to veterans like me. Old people are stuck in the past and preachy, which is annoying. He often says, "That's John's favorite thing to say about us veterans." Plus, he's brought in people who agree with him from other departments to make things comfortable. They're like his minions and don't contribute much to our tasks. My colleagues, who have been honing their skills alongside me for years, grew tired of John's arrogant ways and eventually left the company. They even suggested I resign, citing that there's no future for the department or the company if things continue this way. However, I chose to stay because I need to support my family, and at my age, finding another job wouldn't be easy, so I've been enduring and working as best as I can. John seems eager to get rid of me quickly and is particularly harsh. It's a daily occurrence for him to raise his voice and, along with his lackeys, mock me loudly enough for me to hear. All I can do is be astounded by such behavior on a daily basis. Amidst this, one of my subordinates approached me. "Mr. Cooper, are you okay? What they're doing is pretty lame." Speaking of which, this man is Ryan Brown, a 30-year-old team member I've been mentoring since he joined the company. Ryan is also one of the employees who disapproves of John, and he's not happy with how things are going in the development department. Thanks, Ryan. Don't worry about me. If you say so, Mr. Cooper. But really, someone like you should be the chief. He vented as I continued processing the documents, finishing hours after the official end of the day. As I was about to leave the office, my phone rang. Ted, are you free tonight? Want to grab a drink at our usual spot? It was Daniel Harrison, known as Dan, a friend I met at a local bar who works in the same industry. He's a generation older, but feels like a friendly peer. Accepting his invitation, I met up with Dan at the bar. While sharing drinks, we talked about various things, including my job. Ted, you were working late again, huh? Was it because of that department head again? Dan, who often hears my complaints, was well aware of John's behavior. I just smiled wryly and confirmed it. Ted, you have a solid track record. I bet other companies would hire you. Maybe, but I guess I'll stay at my current job unless I get fired or something. Staying at the company isn't just about the difficulty of finding a new job. There's also a sense of attachment because I've worked here since I graduated. Plus, I'm currently working on a product that I've been developing for 3 years. The products I create are like my children, and I at least want to see this product make it to market and witness its success. Ted, you're like a role model for us developers. Hearing that simply makes me happy. We enjoyed our drinks, sharing our thoughts as developers. One day, there was a competition for a new product at work. Participants were eager to prove their own skills, and I decided to enter with the product I'd been developing for the past 3 years. But John teased like he always does. Oh, come on, you're too old for this competition. You'll just make a fool of yourself. Honestly, I feel like telling him to focus more on his own work instead of spending time provoking others. But saying that probably won't change John at all. It would just sour his mood even more, and he'd end up lashing out at everyone around him. Thinking this, I decide it's best to just give a polite smile and let it slide. However, noticing my response, John looked annoyed, but still spoke condescendingly. Well, you seem to have some achievements. Let's see if you've still got it in you. He scoffed before leaving the office. After he left, Ryan and several other coworkers came over. Mr. Cooper, can we join together as a team and learn from you in this competition? It seemed they wanted to team up with me for the competition. Getting a third-party perspective on the product might bring new ideas, and Ryan and the others were earnest and trustworthy. Joining them in the competition could enhance our collective strength. With that in mind, I agreed to participate in the competition with them. We exchanged ideas and experimented with the development process. The insights from younger generations sometimes led to new discoveries, but according to Ryan and the others, the experience of a veteran like me was also invaluable. This blend of strengths showcased the limitless possibilities of development, making it an exciting endeavor. I hoped that John would come to appreciate this excitement, which would surely help our department grow. Regardless, the prototype of the product I've been developing for 3 years has been completed, thanks to my subordinates. Thanks to everyone, we finally have this prototype ready to show to the world. Let's win the competition tomorrow, I said, and everyone renewed their determination. The juniors proposed a toast to the competition, and we decided to go out for drinks as a team that night. Right, can't be too careful. I agreed as we did one last check on the prototype before leaving the office. The next day, the internal competition day arrived. Before it began, I picked up my smartphone, which I had left behind the previous day, and checked the state of the prototype with my team. The next moment, an unbelievable scene unfolded. What is this? What happened? The prototype was brutally destroyed, clearly sabotaged. We immediately suspected John and his cronies. Right on cue, John approached us. What's this? Were you really planning to enter this trash in the competition? No, this is. I wanted to accuse him right then, but we had no proof. As I pondered what to do, John raised his voice even more. You were trying to make me look bad by intentionally entering this trash, weren't you? Ryan couldn't hold back any longer against such a baseless accusation. Mr. Cooper really put his heart into this product and joined the competition with honest intentions. He would never pull a sneaky move like that. John snorted at Ryan's words and challenged, Do you have any proof of that claim? Realizing that arguing would get us nowhere, I calmed Ryan, who was about to retort further. Then, John picked up the broken prototype and threw it out the window. We were speechless at such an unexpected action, but John said something even more shocking. We can't afford to keep worthless employees like you. You're fired. Indeed, he announced my dismissal. It seemed he wanted me, as the team leader, to take all the responsibility. Clearly, this had been his plan all along. To create a problem and use it as an excuse to force me out. Ryan and my other colleagues resisted his oppressive behavior, but John shot them a threatening look. What? If you have complaints, I can fire you all too. I couldn't let them get involved too. After all, John was after me. Got it. With that, I returned to my desk and began packing my things. John and his followers were grinning as they watched. It was clear they had orchestrated everything. Concerned, Ryan approached me. Mr. Cooper, I can't accept this. Settle down. There's nothing we can do about it now. I'll leave behind everything I can for you guys, so take care of things after I'm gone, I said, transferring some data to Ryan's phone. Seeing the data, he nodded firmly. After saying goodbye to my team, I left the company and went straight home, where my surprised wife greeted me. It wasn't normal for me, who usually came home late due to overtime, to return at such an hour. She asked worriedly if something had happened. It was hard to say that I had been fired, but I couldn't keep it from her forever. Despite knowing it would worry her, I decided to tell her everything. That's terrible. You've worked so hard, and he treated you like this. My wife looked even more upset than I felt, but she quickly smiled and suggested, Why don't you take a break for a while? I appreciate that, but we have our living expenses to pay. We have savings, and we can manage for a while. her words were truly comforting. Although anxious, I decided to follow her advice and take a short break. That evening, Dan invited me to our usual bar. I told him about being fired and the circumstances surrounding it. Perhaps it was the alcohol, but Dan expressed his anger openly. How absurd is this story, right? I've always thought that, but that department head is completely nuts. I never thought he would go so far. Well, at least I'm free from him now. While I couldn't be completely happy considering the team I left behind, being away from such a stressful source was a relief. Just then, I received a call from Ryan. It seemed he and the others wanted to join me for a drink and talk. With Dan's agreement, I invited them to the bar. They arrived, and together with Dan, a sort of farewell party for me began. I was surprised, really. Who would have thought you'd hand over such a thing? Ryan laughed, referring to the data I had passed on, which seemed to have been helpful to them. Afterward, we shared some light-hearted conversation and drinks. Then Ryan asked about my future plans. "Mr. Cooper, have you decided on a new job yet?" "No, not yet." Seeing their worried expressions, as if they were concerned for their own futures, I felt blessed to have such supportive subordinates. Then Dan, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "Ted, would you let me help you?" As he made his proposal, I was surprised, but encouraged by my team. I agreed to consider it. The next day, I went to a slightly upscale restaurant with my family. "Dad, are we okay to be at such an expensive restaurant?" "Don't worry. I wanted to thank you guys for your support," I replied, smiling at my wife and daughter. Having been too focused on work to spend quality time with my family, I took this opportunity to make some time for us. As we enjoyed our family time, a call came in on my phone. It was John. Wondering what he could possibly want now, I decided to ignore it, not wanting to disturb this precious time with my family. My wife noticed and asked, "Honey, what's wrong?" "Well, it seems like John has tried to call me." Upon hearing John's name, both my wife and daughter visibly grimaced. Considering he had fired the family's breadwinner for ridiculous reasons, their resentment was understandable. I don't know what he wants, but if it's not important, just ignore him. It's probably nothing good anyway. I agreed. Perhaps he was contacting me again to spout more nonsense, or maybe there was another reason. With these thoughts, I decided to focus on family time and turned off my phone. After enjoying our meal and returning home, I turned my phone back on and was stunned by the notifications. You've got to be kidding. There were 100 missed calls from John displayed on the screen. Even for John, harassing me this much seemed excessive. This could mean he's finally making a move. I muttered as I reluctantly called him back. It seemed he was eagerly waiting for my call. "You slowpoke. How many times do you think I tried to call you?" He barked as soon as he answered, true to his usual aggressive demeanor. I sighed at his attitude, but asked what he wanted anyway. "What have you been telling people, you sneaky jerk?" "Ah, are you talking about the camera footage?" At my question, I could hear John breathing heavily even over the phone. The footage in question was part of the data I had entrusted to Ryan Brown, set up the day before the competition. Anticipating that John might try something, I had installed a smartphone to record as a surveillance measure. When I collected the smartphone on the day of the competition, the video clearly showed John and his lackeys destroying the prototype. I had given this data to Ryan, instructing him to pass it to the president. As expected, the president questioned John about his actions after seeing the footage. "You did this out of spite because I fired you, didn't you?" I was indeed angry about being fired, but more importantly, your actions are damaging to the company, I replied truthfully. John's arrival had worsened our department's environment, driving away talented individuals. His recruits were ineffective, and our overall performance had suffered. Feeling that the company and my colleagues' futures were at risk, I had taken action. "John, why did you do this?" Snorting, he retorted, "I am destined to lead this company. I can't stand it when old geezers like you get all the praise." He felt undervalued, despite being brought in as a department head with high expectations. Veterans criticizing his methods and not receiving the expected praise from his father, the president, had frustrated him. Thus, he tried to create a favorable environment by firing anyone who opposed him, leading to the current state of our department. My methods are flawless, and you've messed everything up. If you really think that, you're not cut out to be a leader. Ignoring others' skills and only caring about your own abilities is just not being good at your job, I argued. Frustrated, John made another plea. "Can you please explain it to my dad? Tell him it was all just a joke." At this point, he was still thinking of his own safety. "And what benefit would that have for me? If you make it sound believable, I might even let you come back to the company. You're struggling to find a job anyway, aren't you?" Indeed, he probably thinks he's offered an irresistible bait. Given my age and the difficulties of finding a new job, plus the family I need to support, it's clear how much reassurance returning to the company would bring. However, that's only if I hadn't already secured another job. If that's the situation, I'll have to say no. I've already found a job at another company that's willing to look out for me. What? Caught off guard, John was visibly shaken. Indeed, at last night's drinking session, it had been decided that I would join Dan's company. Dan, who runs his own business, had long expressed a desire to work together. Seeing this as a fateful opportunity, I decided to accept his offer. "Wait, don't leave me like this." Realizing the gravity of his situation, John desperately tried to justify himself. But I had had enough. "The company is not a toy for you to mess with. Thinking everything will go your way is a big mistake." With that, I hung up. Following this incident, Ryan and others who had endured John's behavior came forward with their grievances. As a result, John and his recruits were reportedly dismissed. John appealed to the president, his father, asking what would become of his heir, but was bluntly told that there were plenty of other suitable candidates for the company. John, having relied too much on his status, struggled to find a new job and resorted to part-time work. Given his problematic nature and inability to work properly. He was repeatedly fired and kept changing jobs. Well, he was now paying the price for his selfish ways. It was all his own doing. Meanwhile, I am enjoying fulfilling days at my new job. My knowledge is considered important, and I can add real value. Thanks to Dan and others' considerations, I now have more time to spend with my family than before. While leaving the company I was attached to was sad, I plan to continue competing as an active professional alongside Ryan and others.